If you're in lineup and wait, anticipated separation is no longer authorized. So what that means is your takeoff roll has to begin after that aircraft goes through the intersection.
Ready.
Welcome to Opposing Bases Air Traffic Talk, an aviation podcast by two air traffic controllers and rated pilots who love to talk about flying, controlling, and everything in between. The show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be used as a substitute for your instructor, your supervisor, the FAA, the NTSB, or your CAT. The show will give you a better understanding of how things work in the National Airspace System and maybe even make you laugh along the way. Please welcome retired Army pilot Alpha Golf and first officer at Penguin Airlines, Romeo Hotel.
It's Wednesday, May 6, 2026, episode 436. On today's show, we'll talk about the amazing New York City controllers, share a story of a resurrected Chinook, and share a ton of aviation milestones. What's up, Paige?
Hello, everyone.
Happy Wednesday. Wednesday. How are you?
I'm good. I got a little extra sleep this morning, which is nice.
Yes.
I have the mid tonight, and the following night, and the night after that.
3 in a row.
Yay.
It's like the COVID days, but not COVID. If they went back to 5 and 5 tomorrow, would you be happy or sad?
5 on, 5 off?
Yes.
What shift would I be working?
Not the mid.
Oh,
You get
done.
4 6-2s.
Oh,
5 6-2s.
done.
Done.
Sold. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be amazing.
This has been a busy week. I've been home. My wife had her surgery. I played nurse last week. That sort of tapered off this week, although she's still in a little bit of pain. She goes back to the doctor today. Speaking of pain, tell us about your softball injury.
Oh, yes. Right. So
Right.
I've been in kind of a hitting slump. Just a bunch of pop-ups and stupid ground outs.
Okay.
Just not making good contact. So I finally got into one, and I hit a double. Got past the outfielders.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm running hard to second base, which is a long run for my legs that are like, why are we sprinting? Is there a fire? Is someone dying? Are we trying to save our lives or someone else's? What are you doing? So anyway, I get to second. The next play, a base hit. I'm running home. They're waving me past third. My legs are thinking this can't be reality. This isn't really happening.
Make it stop.
I see the ball from my left being thrown home. And I'm thinking in my brain, this is going to be close. I'm going to have to slide. So I slid and I broke my body. Like that video where the guy is doing a home project and jumps off like the second rung of his ladder. And it cuts to Johnny Cash singing, I hurt myself today.
That was the text waiting for me when I woke up this morning. It made me laugh. Coming off of a food coma from the tacos you made last night. Thank you for those. They were wonderful.
Good. Yes. You're welcome.
All the things. I kept listing all the things that you made, and my wife says, wow, is there anything you didn't eat?
There's many ingredients. And actually, I didn't include, we like to have red cabbage in them sometimes. For that crunchy. And we didn't have that.
Or lettuce.
Or lettuce.
Look, I was willing to let that go. It was fine. There was a lot of other things to put in there. It was very good.
Good.
I have to go back to work, and I'm hoping
Why?
I remember how to fly.
Yeah.
That happens later this week. Anyway, shall we begin?
All right.
All right. Oops. Since OB 435, we have some new members on the iceberg. Delta Whiskey, Juliet Delta, Zulu Bravo, Juliet Delta, Kilo Delta, Alpha Delta, and Bravo Whiskey are new. We got PayPal drops from Golf Mike and Juliet Sierra, and a new Patreon member, Kilo November. If you've been enjoying the show, you can take it to the next level by joining our premium feed on Supercast. Supporters get every episode on time with no delays. Our entire back catalog, 435 episodes. Access to our live stream, recording each week, bonus audio, and a direct line to us through our supporter-only email. You'll keep the show ad-free and community-supported. You can learn more. Sign up at opposingbases.supercast.com. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Play music.
Terrain. Pull up.
Reviews and announcements. One
Review
review.
and announcements. I think just the one. Was there a time where we did multiple reviews?
No, I got to take that S off the master document here. I think that's what I just read what's on the screen.
Oh, I
Okay.
see. Yeah.
Okay, stop judging me.
All right. This review titled "Perhaps the Best Podcast on the Market." I'm sure that it means in this very small market of pilot and controller hosted aviation podcast.
Of all the aviation podcasts with a controller and a pilot who used to be a controller, and the controller's also a pilot. Yeah, we're definitely on top of that.
5 stars, naturally. Romeo Hotel and Alpha Golf put together aviation knowledge you can't find anywhere else, and comedy all into one podcast. I have enjoyed every minute of listening since I was introduced to OB in December. It has solidified my opinion on asking for flight following on every cross country, and dare I say, it could have prevented me from failing my instrument check ride had I started listening to OB earlier on in my training. Thanks for all you do for the aviation community. I look forward to more episodes, bonus audio, and maybe even buying an OB t-shirt before my next check ride. Keep up the awesome content. From the Wood Chipper Delta with a Tursa Alpha Hotel. Cool. Thank you for that.
Thank you for taking the time to do that. All right, we have some announcements. It's your time. Go shine. You got to go over to the widget
Oh, I
page.
do the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we have some new Yetis in the store. We have some sale markdown items in the store. Check it out for the live stream viewers. You could see a fancy QR code on the screen. Do whatever you do to scan it. It's the other way. I see it as this way.
See, you're pointing away from it.
You were pointing away from it. All right, announcement number 1, Supercaster Alpha Charlie Foxtrot sent a note. Hey, guys, after nearly 10 hours in a Citabria, that's such a cool plane. I have about half an hour in that. High wing, small single-engine aerobatic plane. I got signed off for both tailwheel airplanes and spin training. Congrats.
Cool.
My buttons are all mixed up here. Why can't I find anything? There it is. It was my first time doing any spins, and we managed half a dozen without anybody losing their breakfast. Excellent. While not part of the official requirements, I suspect that my final exam for the tailwheel endorsement was whether I could safely land a three-pointer after all those trips through the washing machine onto high performance, and then towing gliders in the Pawnee. Cheers, Penguin Explorer Alpha Charlie Foxtrot. I am not familiar with the Pawnee PA-20 something, maybe. Do you know that airplane?
No.
We'll look it up. And
Okay.
Congratulations on that. Number 2 from Tango Romeo is a commercial pilot. Congrats.
Nice.
Sent a note. After 30 years and a 20-year break, I took my commercial and passed the check ride with the use of Track Up. That's why. That's why you passed. It has to be.
Track up.
You want number 3? I'm exhausted.
You look exhausted. Number 3 from Supercaster Tango November is going to the airlines. Congrats.
Excellent.
After much delay, 2 other cancellations, and delaying to prepare for an interview, I finally completed my CFII check ride. I am also excited to announce that I have accepted an offer at Acme RJ Airlines. You guys have been in my ear for my entire aviation journey. Having all of the amazing penguins this podcast has given me over the years helped make the CFII check ride the easiest one I've ever done. Every time the examiner asked a question, all I had to do was ask myself, what would OB say? Results may vary.
Yeah, use caution with that logic.
Yeah.
We don't even know what we would say.
Yeah. And as we proved last night, when you played a clip from a previous show, I don't know how long ago that was.
It was in the hundreds.
It was so years and years ago.
Or maybe early 200s.
I had barely any recollection of having ever uttered these words. So, yeah, use caution.
All right, you want number 4? And I'll
Number
do the
4.
QR code. I'm going to shine now.
So proud. All right. It's from Supercaster Mike Kilo. I guess I should make an announcement. I was the guest on the Sporty's Pilots Discretion podcast. Cool.
Congrats.
Episode 127 of that show. A link is in the deep dive for supporters. That was last week. And you're
last
showing
week.
the QR code for...
A link to that episode.
Huh.
Go
Amazing.
listen. It's amazing. Wow. Live streamers are getting new stuff here. This is like state of the art. We just stepped into the 21st century here.
Yeah. You've never seen anything like this.
I'll get the second number 4, because why would you do 2 number 4s?
You-
Emperor Captain Whiskey Mike is a CFI. Congrats.
Congrats.
I'm going to put up that picture here
Okay.
and show you wearing your cool gear. Let's see. There it is. Add stage. Cool. It always helps when you show up in OB gear.
It's going to help. Yeah.
All right, moving on.
I know.
We have no time with feedback, so we're just going right into a show topic.
Oh, wow.
Look what happened to our faces on the screen.
What happened?
We're smaller. There you go. I don't know. It's defaulting to a different view. I don't know why.
Did you adjust your head to be higher than mine?
I adjusted it to be on the same place. Look, I've done it twice during this show already. Stop moving. You're going lower, and I can't. It's tilted as much as it'll go.
All right. Sorry.
All right, this week's show topic is from Emperor Captain Juliet Sierra about LaGuardia Airport, the controllers and the pilots that go in and out of there all day. And we want to read a note from him. We're going to talk about that airport and all the amazing things that happen up there. How about that?
I like it.
All right, greetings from under the Statue of Liberty, Bravo. I was midway through writing on another topic when I decided a hard pivot was in order. I flew in last night to LaGuardia on Penguin Airlines. I'm one of those geeks who flight plans the commercial flights I'm on to keep my weather for flight and go on and no-go skills as sharp as possible. I like this. You're using your own personal flight planning device for the commercial flights that you're on in the back. I will say I've seen this happen, maybe to me. If you aim your phone by the window and you're flight tracking, you're going to get some strange looks when they see the plane moving on the on your flight in seat 22F. Anyway, on this flight, I noticed on multiple occasions that we were taking 90-degree turns off of our planned route, flying for 15 minutes and then flying back to our route, which I assumed was to help create space into the New York area. Sure enough, when we landed, I was dismayed to see that when we taxied off the runway, we were on the side opposite the terminal and also saw an unusually large number of planes just sitting around. Excellent. Thank you for putting that up.
Oops.
That's good. We can keep that up.
Yep.
Okay. We sat around for 30 minutes on the taxiway before the captain announced that due to weather conditions, arrivals were still piling in, but departures were significantly reduced, creating a huge logjam with no estimated time to be able to taxi to the gate. Let me pause right there and go back to the whole pseudo holding vectors, 90-degree turns. Walk us through that. Why would a center controller do that, do you suppose?
Just box you around versus issuing holding.
Yes.
Sometimes, I don't know at the center why there might be specific reasons for that. I know for me, sometimes where there is holding depicted or is already published, I don't really want you there. I don't want to have to make up holding at some random place. And honestly, the amount of brain power that it takes just to box you around on familiar headings, I just use headings that we use all the time in the airspace, is very little. Now, if I have 10 planes that are doing that, that's getting to be a little much. All I'm going to be doing is giving headings all the time. So that's probably not going to work. But for a couple planes, just boxing you around is, I find it sometimes easier. If it's not going to be long term. If we're talking 30 minutes, I'm probably going to hold you somewhere.
This is what it feels like on the center side as a pilot. It feels like center A feeding to B that maybe houses the airport you're going to, for example. So you're pretty close. You're one center away from the center that is above your airspace that you're landing at. They will all of a sudden get mail in their inbox that says, we need X amount more miles in spacing, which doesn't look clean when you do holds. So, hey, if I turn this guy 90 degrees for a minute, it's going to buy me the time that I need. Then I'm going to send him back to that fix, and I'm going to solve. That's what it feels like, because we're only on those headings for a few minutes at a time, and then we'll go back on. They usually find somebody that's going to be number one, make them go fast, rip the wings off, you're number one, and then number 2 through 15 gets these crazy, what seems like crazy from the back, turns, but it's just buying that controller extra space. And he's using the confines of his airspace. You're right. It's unfamiliar to just, you don't want to just put everybody in a hold present position. Please don't ever do that, controllers. Present position holds are almost impossible in the airplane. Please stop. Make it stop.
As soon as you hit that button, you've already passed where
Yes.
it just, yeah.
The computers don't like that. Anyway, it's buying that controller a little bit of extra time, which translates to distance between targets. And it could be for weather in this example where they said, all right, we have nowhere for these airplanes to go. Spread them out. Okay. Where was I? We sat around for 30 minutes on the taxiway before the captain announced due to weather, arrivals were still piling in, but departures were significantly reduced. We're going to talk about that, creating a huge logjam with no estimated time to be able to taxi to the gate. I was originally upset about the delay and admittedly very grumpy. Then I decided to dial up LaGuardia ground on live ATC from the plane you're on, pro move. But what I heard for almost the next 3 hours, I missed this detail.
Wow.
Completely changed my perspective. A single ground controller with humor, patience, and a whole lot of creativity managed to handle a huge number of airplanes in a very limited space. On the flip side, every single pilot, regardless of circumstances, handled themselves with tremendous professionalism, going out of their way to accommodate traffic that the controllers were actually able to clear, regardless of how long they had been waiting. Planes moved out of line and taxied in circles so that a plane in the middle could get to the runway. Planes moved to allow the large number of pilots that declared DOT-3, which is the 3-hour roll, tarmac roll, to get back to a gate as quickly as possible. The controller thanked the pilots, and the pilots thanked the controller. It was incredibly impressive. So just a reminder that when you're sitting on a commercial flight cursing the fates for whatever might be impacting your travel plans, there are a whole lot of people working to make sure you get where you are going as quickly and safely as possible. I didn't use code names because the facility deserves the praise. We agree. I also attached a for-flight screen with showing the conditions on the ground 30 minutes after they started getting planes cleared, and we finally got across the runway. All right, before we get into some notes that I put down here underneath that picture, let's talk about what we're looking at here. Paint us a picture of what you see, first reaction of what we're seeing here.
Yeah. Logjam is not the wrong word, especially down here at the approach end of, what is this, 1-3?
I can't see our cursor for some reason. Yeah. Okay, upper left. Yep, I see it now.
Is it my cursor on there now? I don't think it is. I'm just presenting a file.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're doing. Yeah, the 3 inline lines over at 1-3. I'll talk about that too. Go ahead.
Yeah. And then the circle that sort of goes around the terminal is all jammed up.
Right.
There's not a lot of places left to put planes where they could sit and not completely block the route to somewhere. I think is what it looks to me like they're trying to do. Keep these main avenues open while finding places to put planes. We have a really hard time doing that because we run out of places really quick that cut off the route to the runway.
So what we don't see on this picture, because their transponders are not on yet, because they're still at the gate, is all the gate traffic that's creating the no parking situation that's happening. So big picture, this airport has limited real estate. There are a couple of new amazing terminals. If you haven't been to LaGuardia in the last 20 years, and the last time you were there, it felt like you were in the worst spot ever. It's totally different now. It's amazing. As a passenger, it's a great airport, in my opinion. It's very updated, lots of places to be while you're waiting for your flights. The terminals are all new. Lots of gate space. They can go underneath bridges that take the passengers from the street level to the terminal. The planes can taxi underneath that. So there is a circular terminal environment for planes, which creates a lot of flexibility, if you will. But taxiways, it's on a very, the northern tip of Manhattan and Queens, it's very hard to move or to get any extra space. In fact, I think the approach into 22 is borrowed land that's dirt that just got piled up to make a place for a metal underground of a runway. Not a lot of places to be if you're not at a gate. That's the theme of this feedback, and the creativity of the controller is important here. So I think this picture is a good starting point for a general overview of the airport. The configuration we're looking at, it looks like they landed on 22, which is what I remember doing. It seemed like 9 out of 10 arrivals there. We were there in and out of there every day at least once. When I was at Comair, I felt like we should have had a base there. We were there so much. And they depart on the crossing runway, which is 13. And you see all those airplanes over there in a line, which let me talk about real quick. You leave the terminal. You have to cross, and we may have this in the notes later on, but you have to cross the active arrival runway to get to the departure runway. Generally speaking, that's not common in the NAS. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. It is not desirable.
Tell us why.
Because for every operation, for every single departure, when they're going to 13, right? You're crossing the arrival runway twice.
Yep.
Once when you taxi, once when you depart. It's just introducing those extra crossings that, as we have seen in recent times, can be problematic. You're going in front of the flight path of a plane moving very, very quickly. So it introduces potential error.
All right. You're right. The error part is the important. So the controllers the ground controllers coordinating a lot with local to get across those runways, and the local controller is hitting a gap with his own departure when they get over to the other side. So the configuration we're looking at, departing 13, a normal everyday situation there is the 13 traffic is constant lineup, runway 13, line up and wait. As soon as the arrival crosses the runway, which is pretty close to the approach end of that runway, they're clearing the 13 for takeoff. The next airplane gets immediately put in position. So it's like a choreographed dance. On a normal day, that's how it would work all day. Line up and wait, clear for takeoff as soon as the 22 crosses the intersection. 22 gets off, turns left, and now they're facing all the traffic that typically, I'm just saying in general, crosses at Echo. They cross it. They cross at Echo, so they can make a right into 4 different lanes on the other side, and they stack up their departures in whatever order they need to for departure gates, in-trail spacing to certain fixes over New Jersey, because everybody starts their flight by flying west somewhere.
Right.
And that's how they stack up the departures over there. They're in a line. And on the picture we're looking at, we can see 3 of the lines being used, 3 of the parallel taxiways over there, and about 3 or 4 on each taxiway. So it's definitely tight over there. The customer base is a lot of RJs, 737s, so wingspan is a concern, but it's minimized by the fact that there's so many airplanes that are the same size over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
over here.
When you get your taxi instructions there, be ready. You're getting put in line, and they'll usually tell you the sequence to follow. Someone you're following is Once they pass in front of you on golf there, that's when you go into line and you'll be on tower by then. So I always thought ground control sounded like a hazing incident.
Yeah.
Here's why. This is my soapbox for metering. Let's talk about that first. What is metering? Have you ever been anywhere that's using metering?
I'm not sure. So for departures?
Yes.
Oh. No.
Okay,
I mean, as a passenger? Probably, and not realized it.
The only place I've been as a pilot that's used it is Chicago, and it's used like perfectly. So imagine you're on clearance, you issue a clearance, you mark the strip, whatever it is. Instead of going right to ground and putting the strip over there, it goes to a metering controller. The metering is who you're told to monitor after you push. Okay? Or call metering, depends. That person's only job is to hear from people who are ready to move. They're in between clearance and ground. Okay?
Okay, so they are controlling who comes off the gate.
They're already off the gate by the time they talk to metering, because gates in Chicago are a whole different frequency, a whole different ramp control. But they call metering and they let them know we're ready to taxi. Metering says, okay. And metering puts that strip in a place in order that they want ground to call them. And pilots monitor ground and wait to be called when it's your turn to move.
Yeah.
At LaGuardia, there's an advertised frequency for metering. It has never been used, at least when I was there, and I wish it was. Because when you're ready to taxi, you have to get a hold of this ground controller who's working. How many airplanes are on this screen right now? 30?
At least.
A ton of traffic. Just to get your voice out there, November 1, 2, 3, ready for taxi, over at Terminal D, we have the weather. One time took me almost an hour, almost a full hour, just to get a gap in time where I could push the button and call them to talk.
Wow.
Yeah. If they had metering, I could call metering, because metering isn't worried about moving traffic. All they're doing is arranging grounds departures so that they can call you when they're ready. Please bring it back. That would make life so easy. But anyway.
So how does ground, well, I guess now with ASDI,
Yeah, they could see you over there.
ground knows where you are. Your gate number is probably on the ticket or something.
Maybe, but I feel like they don't, until you get a hold of them by voice, they're not going to reach out to you just because your transponder's on and you're blinking on their screen. They're not going to do that. They're waiting for you to call. And
Yeah, no, I get that here. But if they had metering, ground would have a ticket, and he's taking them in order. So the one at the top or the one closest to him, however they're ordering them, and it comes up, and he's going to taxi this plane. He's going to reach out, let's say at Chicago. Ground reaches out to you and taxis you. I'm just wondering, how do they know where to look? Because
oh yeah, I'm sure metering puts it somewhere on there, like a marking of where you're at. And
yeah,
and it's, a lot of the airlines are divided up by terminal there, so it's pretty obvious it's one or two different places.
it's going to be a general area.
Yep. But the metering person could put you, maybe you're not at the top of that stack that's working its way down. Maybe he puts you in between because he needs, hey, I need a triad example. I need a gala and I need a bottom. I need those gala bottom the whole way. Bottom's not a thing anymore. What is it?
Neither
Trisha.
is Gala. No.
What's the South one now?
Carowin.
I knew that. I said it 1,000 times. I'm stupid.
Bolt. Yeah.
My point was that the ground controller doesn't have to do all that math with you calling. They're just going to call based on the order that they were fed by metering. So the ground control, like I said, is like hazing, because now they have to do all of that. They have to get them in order that the local controller, the tower controller, can spit them out into the world in the correct order, which starts when you're ready to taxi. So we already talked about how all departures cross the arrival runway, and the arrivals have to work their way back. They're going to be opposite directions, some of those departures that are crossing at Echo, depending on what terminal they're parking at. So everything's a logjam. When you leave, you have to cross an active runway twice, once to get over there and once to leave. And when you arrive, you're going to have to go opposite direction and get over to a parallel taxiway that's the other way on the airport for you to get to your gate. So all that to say, for the ground controllers, that I would be willing to bet there's some sort of money involved. I would pay never to work ground up there. Hey, guess what? Ground's due for a break. No, I don't. Here's $50. I'm not doing it. Give me local.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want it. I
I'll
don't
do
want to do
something
it.
else.
I want to say this nicely, put on a smile when I say it. The controllers are from New York. They have a great sense of humor. They're low on the patience. Okay? They're very good, and I think they deserve the praise. That's why we're talking about them. Just keep that in mind when you're up there. You got to have thick skin. We already talked about gate space, and places to taxi are scarce if the departures can't leave, which is what's happening in this example. Now you have nowhere for all these arrivals to go. All the departures that are trying to get out are taking up taxiway space. The gates are occupied. So it sounds like you landed and turned right off of 22. There is a terminal over there, and general aviation, and where they park high-level security stuff when POTUS is in town.
Over here.
Yes. Now you are on the wrong side of the world.
Yeah. What are you doing over there?
That is not, well, that sounds like they sat there for 3 hours.
Oh, man.
So anyway, you could see and hopefully understand from our conversation here that when things are going perfect, this airport's challenging. When you add in a backup due to weather and the departures can't get out, it makes it infinitely harder for the controllers. What do you got? What do you got for questions on this
Right.
place?
So here's what somebody's going to say. Why did they make this airport like this then? Why did they do this? What is the answer to that?
What do you mean? Why are there so many planes here?
No, why is it configured like this? Wouldn't it have been better to make it so that this didn't have to happen?
I don't know what year this airport came around. I'm sure it was a less populated area then in New York City, but
Right.
this is right next to where people live. This is right next to neighborhoods. It's very close to places that are, high-rise apartments and the life of New York City. I don't know that they intentionally did it this way to make it the most difficult airport in the world. Hey, when you go to work there, you chose this.
Right. You
You
did this
chose-
to yourself. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at is when they built this airport, there weren't this many planes. It wasn't like this. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine working ground before ASDI at this place and trying to keep track of all of these planes without a screen telling you what each one was? I'm trying to think what I would do. What would be the method? Because, at Triad, the most you're going to taxi out maybe at a time that are actively moving on ground, you might have 5 or 6, maybe 7 before they get to local and you've passed the strip.
Yep.
I could pretty much keep track of 7 planes and have the strips in order, and know which one is which. 30 planes, especially like on these areas over here short of 1-3, like this second plane in the middle of this pile of planes, I have no idea who that is. And
That's a
how
good-
do you arrange the strips in a certain way?
Well, at local, they're in a long line. Like so this is what happens. When you cross at Echo, they say turn right at one of these parallel doubles. They're doubles over there. They're all blocking it over there. It's like Delta, Delta, Charlie, Charlie, something like that. They tell you which line to turn. The person that you're following might not be the person you follow. When ground turns you, they'll say, "Hey, you're following," and it could be somebody from one of the other 2 lines or 3 lines out there. So everybody just moves up on their own. You're kind of in a CTAF world over there. You're just when it's time to move, you move. And when you see the airplane they told you to follow, so they are very, very good. This is another point to make, and something that one of my first supervisors who worked at this airport, remember Mike Alpha, was it?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. The
He was-
bazooka.
Yep, the bazooka. He was very good at ground at teaching you to use conditional instructions for the pilots. Hold short of taxiway X, follow the aircraft right to left. That's your sequence, contact tower. Like, I'm done with you. I'm going to say what I need you to do instead of having to go back to you. And they do that all the time there.
That's a big thing that trainees do now is they want to paper stop everybody and then they have to go back later. And what that does is it sets you up to forget about that plane versus, okay, why did you stop them there? What was the purpose of stopping them there? Well, it was for this traffic. Okay.
And tell them about it.
And then just tell them. After that traffic, continue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that does happen up there a lot. You're not really talking to anybody. You might be monitoring tower on those lines very early on because ground isn't going to change anything. Nothing really can change. They already gave you your sequence. That's the order I gave the ticket to local in, and that's the way you're going to go. So what else about this map makes you have questions about all the decisions you've made in aviation life?
Yeah, I'm sure that eventually the timing and everything for the crossings, for the arrivals and departures becomes second nature. It just, you have a sense for it. When is it going to work? What are your cutoffs? And, but I'm sure it does take some getting used to. A lot of this stuff, when I look at it, even as a controller for the first time, I'm thinking, gosh, this is so complicated. There's just so much going on here. But I'm not saying that it's easy, don't get me wrong, but you get that there is a routine that starts to come out of this, I'm sure, some sort of pattern.
Yes.
Just you start to pick it up. The controllers that are good really have figured that out. They have figured out this, the pattern to this, what feels like chaos.
And the pilots know the routine too. They can hear it. They just watched, 5 departures in front of them get put into position. As soon as the aircraft on 2-2, they actually start talking. They start clearing you before that airplane is, because you're on the runway. It's left to right. You see them crossing the runway there. Before that airplane is through the intersection, they're starting to talk. They may read the wind. They have some time buyers.
Yep.
Wind 22010, runway 13, clear for takeoff.
Right.
And
right as they're crossing through.
Right as they're crossing through, because it's very close there. It's less than 1,000 feet. Now the pilots can see that airplane, and if they're a little bit off on their timing, maybe don't rush the response.
Yeah, don't get out ahead of the controller.
Yeah.
If they're like trying to just add words into the takeoff clearance.
Yeah.
Pauses and
that's intentional. This is a good reminder for the pilots out there. If you're in position, yes, the next thing you're going to get is the takeoff clearance. But the controller is timing the words to exit their mouth at the right legal time. Don't jump the gun and let go of the brakes and start moving, going, I know I'm going to get clear. Oh, okay, great. But we need you stopped right now. I'm talking.
Right. So, yeah, the big thing with being in position, if you're in lineup and wait, anticipated separation is no longer authorized. So what that means is if you were short of the runway, in this case, you're on taxiway Papa, short of runway 13, the controller could anticipate the amount of time it's going to take this 2-2 arrival. Okay, and they could clear you, they could clear you before that aircraft has gone through the intersection, knowing that it's going to take you time to taxi out, turn onto the runway, and start rolling. So your takeoff roll has to begin after that aircraft goes through the intersection.
Yes.
If you're in position, sitting there ready to go, that you can't do that anymore. And that includes if there was an arrival and you get put in position behind, after that arrival crosses in front of you, they tell you line up and wait. They can't clear you until that aircraft is clear of the runway. Versus if you're short of the runway, they can anticipate. So
on a runway you're sharing, same surface. Like
same
left,
surface.
right?
So
yes.
Anticipated separation goes away once you use line up and wait. So
in other words, as soon as the next thing that the pilots in position are going to do is release the brake and begin their takeoff roll, you can't use anticipated separation anymore.
Right.
That is the next thing. So the condition that must exist has to exist when you say clear for takeoff.
Right. They're off the runway. They've gone through the intersection.
Yes.
They're 6,000 and airborne. Whatever has to be, whatever has to take place. Yeah.
I would be willing to bet for aviation people who know what they're doing a little bit. Just some random pilots, GA people. You've listened enough. You've been in the system long enough to know a little bit. If you walked up and watched these controllers do this, I think it would amaze most people.
Oh yeah.
It's perfectly timed. They do a really good job. And it's not an accident. It's not just randomly happening. It's all timed by the controller. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like people, when they come into our tower, they get cheated out of, seeing something like that because it's not happening. This sort of thing isn't happening. You might catch a push a couple times a day, but it isn't anything like this. Unless you're talking about ground vehicles, and if that was the case, if you included those in how much we got paid,
We'd be at level 15.
yeah, they would have to make new levels above 12. This just isn't enough. These guys are working so many vehicles.
All right, so big picture of this airport, this configuration that we're talking about, arriving 2-2s, departing 1-3, crossing both times. I feel like that was the most common scenario. There are other scenarios they use there. They land on 3-1 a lot, which is the other direction on the 1-3 surface. They depart on 4 a lot. I only landed on 4 a handful of times. In fact, I don't even remember more than one landing in that direction. So I'm trying to paint a broad picture before I ask you maybe an uncomfortable question next. When you get used to a configuration and a rhythm and a flow and timing, the beat, all the things, to shift gears can present a challenge for a controller,
Absolutely.
i.e. turn the airport around.
Yeah.
Okay.
The timing changes. The reason I'm assuming outside of just generally the winds favoring this operation, the reason is because this intersection of these two runways is closer to the approach end. That's super important and super critical in the timing of everything. If the intersection is way down at the other end, like if you turn this operation around, you're having to wait forever.
Forever.
It's too long. And the controllers, I guarantee, don't like it. It's way more advantageous to them to have it the way it is here. And we get that a little bit on the 5s if we're doing 3-2, that 5 arrivals going through that intersection almost instantly. They're still airborne when they go through. So, then switching it around, it throws off your timing. It throws off your routine. If you're doing something 95% of the time and then, okay, now we're going to go do it the other way, you're like, it's not my favorite.
Let me talk about the other direction. When you land 1-3 and departing 4s, which is another common scenario there, departing 4s, so everybody's kind of moving in this, get to the southwest side of the airport to depart, and when you arrive, you're close to the terminal, you turn left off the runway. In order for them to legally clear you, that has changed over the years on what method they use to comply with the rules changes in the 7110. When AG and I started back in air traffic world, luau probably would have been an option here. Runway 31, clear to land, hold short of runway 4. Somehow,
you mean lasso?
I'm sorry, yes. I said luau, I meant lasso. Land and hold short. Some operators couldn't do that, so what they did this is what it felt like on the pilot side. As soon as your wheels touch down on 3-1, they would say, turn left at a taxiway. And if you read that back, they construed that as, you're going to do it, and I could start using my other runway again.
Right.
Where that slipped a little bit is the timing of when they did that. We wouldn't even, the nose wheel had barely touched the ground once, and the tower controller reached out and said, turn left, and we didn't respond. We were still flying the plane.
Right.
And they just want you to say something so they can launch the 4. I get that. But pilots sometimes, and I think this is perfectly okay, don't respond. Fly the plane. Get it slowed down. Do what they said, if you can do it, and read it back. But their hurry to use 4 is not your immediate problem. Your concern is flying the airplane.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a tendency, having an understanding of how this operation works and what's happening in the controller's constraints. Having that understanding as a pilot could lead you to do things to feel like you're helping the controller. And I would say, don't do that. Don't get me wrong. There are times to do that. But I don't think, like RH is saying, that this is one of them. Do what you have to do in a very critical phase of flight to get the plane safely stopped, and you're not worried about reading back, okay, turn left at Tango.
Today, is that legal?
No.
It's not. Tell us why.
Yeah, they took that away. So now that arrival, instead of just acknowledging the turn, which acknowledging a turn is not the turn. They can go blowing through that taxiway.
Yeah. Now what?
Exactly. So now what? The rule now is they have to be off. They have to be off the runway
before that 4 could go.
Yeah. So for us, we have runways whose flight paths intersect, but they don't touch. 3-2 and 2-3 right they don't touch.
I want to go on a rant. Go ahead.
This rule still applies for that. So a 2-3 right arrival, you can't depart the 3-2 guy until technically he's turned off of 2-3 right, which is silly.
Pass the statute of limitations on this so I can admit to doing this.
Totally silly.
If the aircraft touched down on 2-3 right in that scenario, I would
isn't going around. Right.
They're not going around. They're no longer flying. Their flight paths no longer cross because they're not flying.
Yep.
I launched my 3-2.
Right.
I'm not waiting until he turns left 4,500 feet down the runway. Nope. He's on the ground.
Shame. There's no shame there.
He's a taxiing airplane now. He's not going around. Just saying.
Right.
It's not legal. It was a long time ago. Okay.
Maybe it was then. It was.
All right, so we would be remiss if we didn't mention there was some attention on this airport, and we're not going to go into the details on that or point fingers. I just want your opinion on what people who look at that tragedy, and it was a tragedy, there's no other way to say it, what are they not understanding about this operation that you wish they would before they cast, a judgment on whose fault it was or what could have gone better, what happened? What's the big picture element that you see in all the press coverage and all the things that you wish everybody understood?
I guess that you're up there with either by yourself or maybe there's 2 people on the mid, and this goes for facilities across the NAS. It's not just here. I know there was a lot of talk about what was the personnel configuration and why was it happening like that? It's because it's normal. That is what happens. It happens all over the country every night. Every night. Every mid that I work, there is a time period where there are still planes, and for one person, it's busy. Okay? For one person, it's busy. And when you add in something weird on top of that isn't normal, this is not a normal occurrence, it's a lot. It is a lot for that controller to manage. And so here's what people are going to say, oh, well, if it's a lot for that one person to manage, well, have another person.
Just have it fully staffed 24 hours a day.
Right. Okay. What you're saying is basically you need to double the amount of staffing at a place because of the overnight shift.
Right.
That is not going to happen. It's not. It's just not going to happen.
Do you think there will be a change? We'll call it positive. Do you think there will be a positive change as a result of this, whether or not be a technology change, a personnel change, a configuration change, all the things that are mentioned and the different elements, the trucks, the controllers, their viewpoints, all the things, all the equipment on the ground with ASDI. Will there be something, a lot of our rules in our book come down after tragedies.
I'm sure there will be rules that come out as a result of this. Sometimes those rules are beneficial and good, and maybe they needed to happen, like at at the DCA incident. I think some of those rules were positive, but there will be rules just like this whole helicopter thing where this is not helpful. This isn't helpful.
They've created a hazard in some places with the helicopters that didn't exist before with this rule change.
Right now, you're forcing them to go somewhere else. So the tendency to have this reaction, we have to do something. There has to be a rule to, minimize this mistake that someone made in an incident. Well, guess what? There probably already was. There probably already was a rule. So it's like we're sitting there saying, gosh, if only there was a rule. Well, this person got murdered. Man, if only there was a rule for not doing that.
Right.
Okay. People make mistakes. I'm not saying murder is a mistake. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it is, but I'm not saying, oh, just someone just made a mistake and accidentally.
I understand.
Okay.
Perhaps a longer pause between those sentences would have been helpful.
Right. You're right. Timing was bad. But the idea that just because someone made an error, that there was a mistake in the system, be that from the controller, be that from somebody on the ground, a pilot, that we have to make a rule now to get rid of this mistake, I think is an incorrect response. I think as a society, maybe we could just say, we made a mistake. How could we, look at this and say, well, what may have prevented this mistake? What could we have done differently, leading up to that could be different? That isn't a rule. It doesn't have to be another thing to stack into this already 3-inch thick binder of rules. Someone just made a mistake. It happens. People make mistakes. Unfortunately, in this job, sometimes those mistakes can be very, very costly. And that is part of what this job is. And it really sucks. My heart really goes out to the controllers that have made mistakes. It's not negligence. It's just an honest mistake that resulted in tragedy. And they have to live with that. It's not that they tried to do that, obviously. And I couldn't imagine going back to work.
No.
I don't know how you do. That would be super, super hard.
I want everybody to understand the big thing I wish everybody understood about this is if you think that the NAS, and this isn't just this airport, every controller, every center, every TRACON, every tower, if you think that they run their day flawlessly without a mistake, you're wrong. They happen all the time.
Right.
And most of the time, the controller or the pilot or the vehicle operator or some piece of equipment has time to fix that mistake. And you never hear about it.
Right.
And the ones that you do hear about are the time there wasn't enough time to fix it or something else occurred during that process to prevent that second, third, fourth layer of safety from kicking in.
Right.
Let's end on a positive note.
Okay.
None of that should take away from the fact, in my opinion. I've been there. I've been operated there for years. It's been a long time since I've been there. Those controllers do a really, really great job. There's no but at the end of that. This doesn't change any of that.
Right.
You guys do an awesome job. You got a little bit of New York attitude. Totally fine. You've earned it. Have it. The pilots going in and out of there that are, responding to these very quick, punchy instructions, keep doing what you're doing. That airport is awesome. It works really, really well. It is a huge, it takes a lot of traffic for its size. It punches above its weight.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a lot of it has to do with the controllers that are up there. So I want that to be the positive that we leave on. None of those things you've heard take away from how awesome the controllers do every single day at that airport.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Any final takeaway? The feedback was positive, talking about the controller doing all the great things and all the controllers and pilots working together,
Yep.
during that time when all they wanted to do was just make this stop. I want to go home. I want to be done with this problem.
Yeah.
And everybody said, hey, we're stuck. Let's figure this out.
Hopefully, this show has helped you understand through situations like this, through other stuff we've talked about, helps you understand why those delays are happening, why it's not just, somebody going, okay, well, we're just going to put some delays on these guys today,
Right.
just because.
Let's see how long they can take it.
Right. There's a reason behind it. It's not happening in a vacuum.
Excellent.
And nobody at any level of this whole process is happy about creating delays. Man, I've been on planes where the pilots are like, oh, air traffic is delaying us again, like it's something we're excited about doing. Mm-hmm. Oh, yep. I got to delay another one. Let me chalk that up. Let me put a tally mark so I get my quota for the day.
Yep, we have bonus ad pay for ad delay pay. Yeah. Thank you, Juliet Sierra, for sending this in, for sharing a positive story. And you keep going and doing your nerd thing in the back with FlightAware and all the planes and all the flight planning. Keep doing it. And,
I like that. Yep, I love it.
And might get you into a conversation with somebody next to you wants to ask questions. You can talk about it. You're an expert compared to their knowledge, and you can talk all the things about flight planning and going into this awesome airport. And to be able to watch this traffic live, man, he knew he was going to be sitting there for a while. We're still over here.
Yeah.
Our terminal's over there, and all these little arrows, they look cute, don't they? They're in our way.
Right. Yeah, including the ones that are in a line in the sky, landing on this piece of pavement.
Mm-hmm. The pilots that are watching this should know, hey, passengers have this information available to them. The pilots especially, they can see what's happening. So tell the truth. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Shall we move on?
All right.
All right. Feedback time.
Feedback.
It's a helicopter story. I'm going to get a video up on the screen and a picture, so you got to read.
Okay. I love this story.
Excellent.
I already know it,
Okay.
but I haven't read it as it is presented here. Mm-hmm. It's such a good story. All right. From Emperor Captain Charlie Bravo. On May 2nd, 1984, a BV-234 helicopter, a BV-234 looks very, very close to a Chinook. In
I'm going to
fact,
get
if
that
they
on the screen here.
painted
Hold
the
on.
same color, you would have a hard time probably telling the difference. Although I'm sure CB is listening to this, losing his mind, saying, yes, there are so many obvious ways of distinguishing these two. Your video has frozen. Are you still hearing me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep. Okay, you're back.
Yeah. I tried to get the computer to do two things at once, and one of them was a movie. I'm not going to push any more buttons. I want to get a picture on the screen. Go ahead.
All right. So a BV-234 departed with 44 passengers, 2 pilots, and a flight attendant from an oil rig platform near the East Shetland Basin of the North Sea. Okay, so off the coast of, where are we talking about? England? Mm-hmm. All right. It was bound for Aberdeen, but during cruise flight started to experience an uncommanded in-flight disturbance. BV-234s were relatively new at the time, and what we know now as an AFCS failure, that's automatic flight control system failure, with an overriding dash system. Oh man, don't make me remember what dash stands for, but it is, it's an electrically driven component that sits within the longitudinal, I think, the longitudinal axis of the cyclic. Okay, that can sort of behind, it's happening behind the pilot's input, but it's, oh man. Anyway, I can't remember what it means. We used it. I mean, it's working in the background all the time. It's automated. And it just helps take inputs.
I have it on the screen finally.
Leveling off the thing. Okay, yep. There you go. Yeah, see, it looks a lot like a Chinook. Charlie Bravo. Anyway, so it's having an overriding dash system was taking place. Due to the abnormal flying characteristics of the failure, the number 2 hydraulic pump cavitated. The crew elected to land in the water out of an abundance of caution. All right, so in this helicopter, because of how huge the rotor blades are and how many of them there are, just a massive amount of surface area, of lifting area, it would be nearly impossible for you to control this aircraft just with human power. So when you're making an input, it is not directly connected to the rotor blades. You're making an input into a hydraulic unit that is making the input. Okay, hydraulically into the rotor system. So if you lose hydraulic power, your rotor system will remain in the configuration at which it failed. So you have a bunch of power applied, you have no power applied. Whatever is happening when it fails is what you're going to take all the way to the crash site.
I like how you worded that.
Okay, you are going, there's no, now you can manipulate engine power, you know, hopefully somewhat, and maybe be able to get it on the ground. But if you're flying at 100 knots, you have a serious problem. Okay? Hydraulic failures are a huge deal. You lose a system, you're getting on the ground, because if that other one goes bad, it's bad. All right. So that's why they elected to land in the water. That's how serious it is. Okay. The helicopter remained afloat until all 47 lives, 47 lives were evacuated and then rolled over in the water, but remained afloat. The aircraft was recovered from the ocean floating. Okay, so that is not exactly how I heard that story told initially.
Me neither.
Penguin Helicopters purchased the aircraft in the fall of 1985 with hopes to repair the saltwater damage. The company would ebb and flow, as companies do, not getting the overhaul done until some 35 years later. So this thing sat in storage somewhere for 35 years. During multiple discussions, one of the renditions had the aircraft with high-tech, state-of-the-art glass cockpit, previous to the glorious F model in the early 2000s. I remember seeing the airframe intact and in multiple pieces throughout different shops of the overhaul facilities over the decades. I remember hearing the smirks of the senior maintenance tech saying, "It will never fly again." Most shared that opinion. After the increase of contractor presence in Uncle Sam's gathering in the Middle East, it was finally time for the Salty Dog to fly again. It would undergo a grueling 2-year process of buildup. This is actually impressively fast for aviation. Yeah, for something that was upside down in the ocean 35 years ago, yes. And come out of overhaul looking like the day it rolled out of Boeing's assembly line. Few modifications for its role supporting the war fighters. Okay, so it was destined to go overseas to do contract work. On May 23rd, 2018, almost exactly 34 years later, it was my pleasure. It was Charlie Bravo's pleasure to be the first to fly her after the long hiatus. It was truly their efforts that made it possible for this eager chief pilot to make it fly. At the time, I had no idea, but there was a lineup of over 100 shop workers, mechanics, ops personnel, my boss, and other pilot co-workers. My co-pilot informed me the entire shop was outside to watch the maiden flight, and don't screw this up. So no pressure.
I'm going to play that video real quick.
Okay. All right. So for those of you not watching, just so gingerly lifted from the earth, hovering at about 15 feet, a BV 234 or a red and white painted Chinook. That's super cool.
I could not hear you while that was happening because that volume is extremely loud in my ears. So if I was ignoring you, it was because I couldn't hear you.
Sarcastically, under no pressure to perform at all, I brought the Dragon to life. First, the APU, flight control checks, ensuring every bit was in operational order. We eventually had 6 turning and 2 burning. That's the rotor blades and the engines. After what seemed like an hour after our request to lift, our clearance came from the hard to pronounce on the radio Delta Tower controller south of the then hipster Charlie. Very deliberately, I raised the thrust lever and peeled the wheels off the ground like separating brand new Velcro. Stabilizing in a 15-foot hover, we did it. I said, what a moment for a small company and team of dedicated individuals. The aircraft flew smoothly, yet solid, like it had been waiting for this very moment. After multiple verification flights preparing for work, she was loaded onto an Antonov, a really huge Russian cargo jet, and flown downrange. The Salty Dog served in its government support role for 3 years until changed uniforms to firefighting in Turkey and more recently Italy.
Cool.
The video attached, which those of you in the chat room just saw, is of the first flight. You can hear the cheers, kind of, over the battle cry of the Chinook. The still pic is a long line mission in Afghanistan. 250 feet long line, in case you were curious, with a howitzer. That is crazy.
That is on your notes. If you want to put that on the screen real quick, you can see them hanging in the sunset there.
Yeah.
Scroll. You want to put that on the screen?
Oh, sure.
It's 250 feet long for a... Is that a long way?
That's a super long line. So when we carried howitzers, we did it on like 40-foot lines.
All right.
Because we had somebody in the back of the helicopter that could look out and see this thing. We didn't need to see it from the cockpit. That's part of the reason they do this, is so that the pilot out of that bubble window can look down and see the load from the cockpit.
I never thought about that. Okay.
Because at 40 feet, I don't think it's up here somewhere. I don't think you would be able to see it. I never flew anything on a line this long. The longest I ever did was 100-foot line, so half of that with a water bucket.
Could you see it?
No.
Okay.
We didn't have a bubble window.
You didn't?
No.
What's near your feet? Is that the one you call a bubble?
That's the chin bubble.
Okay. This is a different window.
No, yeah. The bubble window is head level to the left or to the right, but typically the pilot flying on the left side, and they can actually lean outside of the frame of the airframe and see backwards and see down. And in the military, you had to have crew members in the back to perform that function. I don't know what the bubble window does to the jettisonable door, because that, for us, was an emergency exit. I'm not sure how the bubble window affects that, but these guys in the civilian world that fly these do almost everything long line like this. I'm not sure if it flies more stable. This is on single point. We did howitzers a lot of the time dual point, which was always more favorable to have 2 hooks, 2 sling points. It's way more stable that way. It almost feels more like part of the aircraft versus something that's swinging around. And this, on a long line, can really get to swinging. This moment is pretty big. So, yeah, I don't know. That's pretty interesting.
Cool pick.
Yeah,
awesome
very
video.
Cool. Yes, thank you, Charlie Bravo, for sending that.
Another piece of evidence of how awesome the Chinook is. I mean, BB-34?
BB-34. Yeah. Dragged out of the ocean and 35 years later made to fly. Now, granted, they basically rebuilt the whole thing, but...
Still, it's amazing. Great story.
Very cool.
Anything on that one before the last one?
Nope.
All right, number 2 from Emperor Captain Sierra Hotel. With salutations and felicitations to RH and AG on my fellow Penguinauts. In this feedback, I want to give a shout out to the importance of monitoring and sometimes misused, but important guard frequency on 21.5 megahertz. While I usually load and monitor guard in my COM2 active frequency when I'm on a long cross-country flight, it's not a hard and fast rule. Recently on a cross-country flight from the Australian Open Airport on the southeast coast of the Sunshine State to my home airport at the Speedway under the Metroplex Bravo, I got a good lesson on the importance of monitoring guard. The east coast of the Sunshine State is incredibly busy with aviation traffic. We're talking Orlando, Daytona Beach area. And when on an instrument flight plan or flight following, there's the constant chatter of controllers alerting pilots about traffic and weather, providing routine instructions, and notifying pilots of necessary frequency changes. I believe it would be unwise to fly along that coast without being in regular contact with ATC, even when not on a flight plan. Preach.
Yeah, right.
I had a rule of thumb in my head. In the airline world, if you haven't heard from somebody in 5 minutes, it's probably a long time. In center world, maybe not as much, but below 12,000. If you haven't heard somebody talking in 5 minutes, you're probably not on the right place.
Pilots ask all the time, especially in the evening during a lull, and they're the only person flying through the airspace. And they'll keep, you guys still there? Did I get lost? No, you're in the right place.
While flying north on my instrument flight plan I was on with Mickey Mouse Approach for what seemed like a long time, I noticed a couple of flights indicated on my ADS-B and my multifunction display to have passed relatively close to me without any alert from ATC. This felt odd, but I'm very attentive to frequency change commands and was sure that I hadn't received any recently. After a few more minutes, it bothered me enough that I studied my position on my moving four-flight map on my iPad and discovered that I appeared to be in stock car racetrack approach airspace, even though I had not been handed off to that TRACON. I keyed up my last frequency, identified myself, and asked the controller if I needed to be handed off to racetrack approach. The controller's answer was interesting. Well, that depends. Where are you? AG can tell us what's happening right now. I thought that was a bit odd since I had given him my call sign and I wasn't on an instrument flight plan, but I imagine he had lots of targets to monitor and maybe didn't see me right away, or perhaps I was already off his screen. What do you think's happening right now?
Well, without totally throwing somebody under the bus.
Hypothetically, of course.
Of course. That just sounds like you got forgotten.
Flew off the scope land.
Yes, without a handoff. I would be lying if I said that had never happened to me. It happens. Mm-hmm. It happens. It's not a good feeling.
When somebody I remember you. Why do I remember you? And then you zoom out just maybe 10 more miles and you're like,
Yes. It's not a great feeling. But, it does happen.
They continue. I remembered that at the bottom row of the four-flight page that displayed the moving map on my iPad shows my distance and relative position from the nearest airport. I glanced down at and gave him my location. His response was, yes, you do need to be handed off. He apologized and gave me the new frequency. I checked in with a new controller, innocently asking, have you been looking for me? The new controller said in a rather irritated voice, yes, I've been trying to reach you for at least 15 minutes. Oh, geez. This is not a slow airplane, by the way. We're talking lots of miles have been covered here.
Yeah, you've covered some distance.
I explained the handoff issue. Unfortunately, didn't receive a phone number to copy. Right, because you didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
They forgot to hand you off. Now, the receiving controller is partially involved in this discussion later on. Like, hey, when you notice this, because they see that airplane, it's on a Mickey Mouse tag.
Yeah, it's not, and it's not invisible.
Yeah,
just because a handoff hasn't been accomplished, the
I don't
tag
see
is still
you.
there. Yeah,
They also could have keyed up and said, "Hey, he's radar. That prevents what we would call a loss of separation,
right,
and a deal."
Right.
And the controller at Mickey Mouse would say, "Oh, thanks. Here he comes."
Right.
They didn't do that. So you didn't do, as a pilot, you did nothing wrong. Your awareness is great in this, but you have done nothing wrong in this scenario.
Right.
However, it then occurred to me that had I been monitoring guard, this issue would have been resolved much earlier and easier. Lesson learned. I don't know. It doesn't sound like that would have been the case. They weren't trying to get you on guard. We always endorse having that on there in case they did lose you. But this controller forgot about you, and that's different from not being able to contact you, because when you called them, they were like, oh yeah. So they could hear you. We do need to hand you off, and the new controller heard you. It's unlikely that they were looking on guard on the receiving controller because you were still on the other tag. So
it's possible here that the handoff was accomplished and the frequency change wasn't accomplished.
That's
that
true.
happens too. And you're actually lucky that it was resolved before you went out of comms
Yep.
with that first sector.
And then the guard would have been
Then you need guard.
Yeah.
Or you have to go looking for the frequency on your own. And we have lots of places in the airspace where it doesn't take long after you exit our airspace to you're going to be out of comms. We're not going to get you.
Yep.
And then you're on your own.
And guard would be very handy. So
Guard would be super helpful.
another unrelated but nice aspect of my flight that day was 2 different controllers complimented and thanked me for the note in the comments section of my flight plan. I followed your suggestion, and in the comments line, I always list my cell phone number followed by I love ATC. Excellent. Thanks for all you guys do to keep us informed and safe. Keep the blue side up. Emperor Captain Sierra Hotel. Well, thank you for the awesome feedback. Your awareness, you're following some OB unwritten rules. Monitoring guard is one of them. And your situational awareness is obviously amazing because you listen to us.
Yes.
I like you did bring up a good point. The handoff could have occurred. There was no loss. There was no deal between controllers. And there's a lot of traffic up there. You might not remember if this airplane checked in or not, especially if you're in an overflight. We've said this before. Checking in on an overflight situation is usually not urgent that you get in touch with somebody because they're just going to give you the altimeter setting and eventually hand you off to somebody else. Or they've already cleared a path for you and in their scan of what could be a conflict for you, and they may not need to reach you. So there might not have any reason for them to call you, except for the fact that he was looking for you for a few minutes because he knew they haven't checked in. So
Right.
the controller's listening key up to the other controller. Hey, try him again. He didn't take the handoff. Oh, that's because I didn't give it to him.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, good lesson, good awareness. Awesome job. And thank you for supporting the show.
Yeah. That is an important, the politeness that you conveyed in that request, try him again, implies that you already tried to switch this aircraft to me one time, at least. Mm-hmm. And I'm requesting that you do that again, knowing full well you just forgot to switch them.
Good
It's
point.
very polite.
Yeah, be nice to each other.
Yep.
All right, we do our best to respond to supporter feedback and let you know when you'll be on an upcoming show. AJ, anything before the chat?
I do not.
Closing out episode 436 of Opposing Bases Air Traffic Talk. Romeo Hotel.
And Alpha Golf. Goodbye, everyone.
Drop. Opposing Bases is a listener-supported, ad-free weekly podcast. The views expressed on the show do not reflect the opinions or official positions of the FAA or Penguin Airlines. Episodes are for entertainment purposes only and are not intended to replace flight instruction. To get on-time access, bonus content, and full archive access, join the crew at opposingbases.supercast.com.
Yeah, drop.